So in this video we're going to have a look at the high-speed CAN network as used on the Powertrain system on this 3 Series BMW. We'll see what we've got to do to get a pattern up on the oscilloscope, the settings that we've got to use, and we'll put some faults on the network, see what they look like on the oscilloscope, and then tell you how to find those faults. So we're looking at the high-speed CAN network today, and if you've got a network that's working correctly, this is roughly what it should look like. So both CAN high and CAN low should start in the middle at 2.5 volts. Then CAN high will go up to around 3.5 volts and CAN low will go down to about 1.5 volts. Now this isn't a steadfast rule and it might be slightly different between car manufacturers. However, if it looks something like this, it's likely you're looking at high-speed CAN. So I'm using the 2000 series PicoScope. This is the 2204A one, and we're taking the measurement directly at the DME, so the engine control unit, and we're on this twisted pair of blue and red wires. The ground I've taken from this ground point down here. So we're connected up to the oscilloscope now, and we can see on the screen, let's turn on channel B. We've got both connected. And we can see that it's flicking between channel over range between 5 and 10 volts on the auto setting. So what we're going to do is put it on the manual setting so we know that it's not going to try and change it. So we'll go on 5 volts because we know it's a 5 volt signal. And then we're just going to increase the time a little and put a trigger on there. That's set to channel A, so let's just put it up here. And there we are. So we're starting at 2.5 volts in the middle, going up to 3.6 volts. Channel B, starting at 2.5 volts, going down to 1.3, 1.4 volts. So let's put some faults on the network and see what it looks like. So let's short them together first. Just using this fuse link. Okay, so we can see now on there, wipers have come on because not a lot happening on that network. Let's zoom in a little. Nothing. Let's see if we can start the engine. So the engine didn't start, it didn't even crank over, did nothing. We also heard the fuel pump operating at full there because the fuel pump on this car is actually ran by a control module, the EKP, and that's part of the CAN network. So if it loses that network, it will just run at full, just as a fail-safe. Okay, now let's see what happens when we put a ground on the signal. We've got CAN high on the top, CAN low on the bottom. So let's short CAN high to ground and see what happens. We see now, look, they both go down to ground. However, if we look carefully, CAN high has gone all the way down to ground. And CAN low is just above it. So we do the same with CAN low, short CAN low to ground. So we see CAN low has gone down to ground, but CAN high is still actually trying to operate. The wipers haven't come on yet. Let's see if it starts. Nothing. So I thought it was going to try and, it looked like it was going to try and work in a single wire mode, but it wasn't there. No, so that's CAN low to ground. And the reason it acts like this is because there's a resistor between the CAN high and CAN low. There's actually one in every control module, but there are two 60 ohm resistors in I think it's the ABS and the engine control module on this vehicle. So when you put a fault on one of the wires, it always has an effect on the other. Okay, so I'm going to move the voltage up a bit now. We're going to see what happens when we short it to positive. So let's short CAN high to positive. Let's just reset that trigger, and then we're going into positive there. We can see that they've both been affected. CAN high has gone flat line up to positive, however CAN low is still trying to operate. It's like it's trying to do the opposite of what we did when we shorted CAN low to ground. CAN low is still trying to do something. Okay, so let's short CAN low to positive. And there we can see again, CAN low is slightly above CAN high, because that's the one we've directly shorted. But CAN high is also a flat line near battery voltage doing nothing. So if you had a CAN network fault and you experienced any of the issues we've looked at here, so short to ground, short to positive, where it either flat line at bottom at 0 volts or holding high at 12 volts, or if they were short together when they were in the middle but trying to do something, best way to start finding those faults is by unplugging all the control units one by one. Do a bit of groundwork, see if it's had any history. So has anything been done in the past? Maybe it's had an accident, which might be able to point you in a certain area of the car rather than just working from one end to the other. If you had no idea of where to start, logical way to do it would be just start with the easiest ones to get to first. Okay, so what we've got here is an open circuit on CAN low, and I've just done this on the fuel pump driver control module. I'll show you. So what we've done now is just done an open circuit on the fuel pump driver control module. You can hear now the fuel pump is just working continuously. Let's go and have a look at what it looks like on the scope. See now, it's pretty messy. Let's just pause it. So we can see it's still communicating, still trying to communicate. Very messy. Really upset the balance of the network. So let's go and disconnect that module, see what happens. So if you were going to try and diagnose an open circuit like this, you would again have to just go and disconnect the modules until you found which part of the network the fault was on. So there we are now. It's gone back to normal again. However, we've got no fuel pump driver module. So hopefully you found what we covered today useful. If you did, make sure you give me a like to see more videos like this in the future. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, that way you'll get a reminder every time I upload a new video.